Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and this is Max. He kindly agreed
Hello.
to spend some of his time to record this video for you, answering your questions about the BBE selection procedure and most importantly the BBE entrance exam. And I asked him because he was the student who completed the most tasks. So he was like number one, and I remembered by his name. I remember you by your full name, as you remember,
Yeah.
like at the BBE meetup. So he for sure has very useful advice and something to say how to prepare, so that you also can get accepted and have a smooth application procedure. So
Yeah, I always have to help.
so you can briefly introduce yourself. How is the studies going for you?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, hello. I'm Max. I'm currently in my second semester of BBE, and yeah, I did. I think I had quite many points in the course because I was kind of a perfectionist, and I just tried to get as many as possible. And I also made the 12th place on the entrance exam, so it worked kind of well.
Yeah, worked out.
And
for you.
yeah, and now BBE is also going well.
So the BB studies, they're worth it because, as Max said to me, it's nice to study and it's not that it's hard, but it's not that hard. Like for university, you have some time to also, for example, record videos with me.
Yeah.
And we recorded a bunch of questions from different messages, and we can start with, I think the one everyone's worried about is when you cannot use a pen and paper. How do you deal with it? How do you use the platform? Is it hard to use with the mouse and stuff like that?
Yeah, so the first thing is, I said it's you can't write much. There's a notepad or something, and you can draw, but it's a lot of work, so it's not really recommendable. So the best way is to kind of have a feeling for the exercises and be able to understand the logic in your head of derivatives, especially. So you just know, okay, if the function looks like this, the derivative looks like this, and I can answer questions about it without having to draw it, kind of. So I think that is very important to be fast and to deal without drawing the stuff.
Yeah, as much as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
And you have to, I think, at some point for calculations. Do you also use the mouse, or is there any other way to make it faster?
There's a built-in calculator you can use. So that one is helpful, but also it's not the best calculator. It's really just the numbers, and you can multiply, divide things.
Yeah.
So it's also good if you have the formulas to do some easy you have to do 75 plus 5 in your head, so you have less to type in. That's also kind of useful to be faster.
But on the exam you always want to double check. Is 2 plus 2 equal?
Yeah. You kind of make a trade-off between being fast and doing some things in your head, but still calculating everything that's necessary to be correct.
Yes, of course, yes. And then people are also wondering, what's your background knowledge? Did you come from a strong mathematical background, or did you have economics courses back in school?
I went to an AHS, it's called. It's general school, generalized focus on sciences. So I didn't know much about economics. Also not specifically a lot in math, but personally I was very good in math always. So I had a rather easy time with the math part.
Okay, that's perfect. So because the WU BBE entrance exam is kind of based on the Matura a bit, but it's a bit harder, I would say. It's just longer questions, taking more time to solve, but the theory, that the basis is still kind of...
Yeah, especially if you did the Austrian Matura, I think you're quite well covered content-wise for the BBE exam. But you should, you can prepare for it again to be fast and to be... to solve things fast and be sure you're correct, so you don't need double think, and you just need to think less about them because you're used to solving them. So that also helps a lot.
And how much time did it take you to cover all the topics? Did you have to review them afterwards? How did your normal preparation day look like?
For me, it was actually a bit of an interesting story because I did the exam after I finished the military, and I could study for a longer period of time, for 6 months, but I studied for every second, third day for an hour maybe. So I think I studied for 60 hours in total, and I just went through all the topics once, and I kind of finished right before the exam, and then just spent some time extra on the hard topics. And especially what is important is to review the economics questions and really understand them, because if you understand the logic behind the economics questions, there are very similar ones in the entrance exam, and then you have a lot easier time than people who need to think those questions through for the first time.
Yeah.
So
because economics is the best part to prepare for, because it's just 60 pages, So use that because it's very predictable. It's actually starting raining, but let's see. It goes like,
Yeah.
welcome to Vienna, you know, great city, the best city to live by the like rankings. But here we have the weather. So, also, do you have like any tips for each section in particular? English, economics, math.
In particular,
Like apart from what's mentioned already, because
Yeah.
quite a lot.
Well, I was actually the version in English, and for English they added the grammar questions now,
Oh, yeah.
and I think it's good to prepare for those because I didn't really have those grammar rules in my head anymore, and they ask for very specific past tense. There are all the rules for different past tenses and combine them. So if you just are good in English and you can speak it, that's the questions are really different because they ask like the specific grammar rules for the past tenses, and that kind of gave me a hard time.
Yeah, because when you know English, you don't even think about it. You
Yeah,
speak, it sounds
exactly.
right. And even professors make like typos, or like when they speak, but it's normal.
And just to speak English properly is like not enough because you need to know the grammar rules.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
That was
Just things that are different.
yeah.
And apart from the course, did you use any of the recommended like sources mentioned on WU's website? Let's say the book or the Matura Teil 1 questions.
Yeah. So I didn't use much else. I read the book because the 60 pages I think for the economics part. That one is kind of necessary. But apart from that, I didn't use anything else because I think the maths book is just like I was like, it's too hard to filter out what is important there. So I just skipped the whole thing and just did the course.
Great.
And I also think that for the Matura, I didn't really use the Matura, the English Matura, because I think the part 1 exercises are easier than the entrance exam because they're like just the idea behind the math and you don't actually have to do things. And the part 2 is like actually I think too difficult for it. So
so somewhere in between. But
yeah. It's like the old Matura would have been perfect before they changed it, but I don't know if you can find those questions anymore. I think previously to like 2019 there was the older system in the maths Matura where they just had like one type of questions.
Okay.
I think that would have been more similar maybe, but I don't know if you can still find those. I just use the course; it prepares you quite well because it's very like the exact type of structure than the exam, like the questions. So that's kind of comfortable.
Thank you. Yeah, it's meant for that. You know? But especially when you have like not that much time, because when I was preparing, I was reading the book because there is nothing else. But I was reading like the first chapter of the book is like a joke, is like, you know, exponent rules, like when you're like a to the power of 2 times a to the power of 2 is a to the power of 4, and I was like really?
Yeah.
And then the exam was like not like that. I was like, oh well.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's in the book. It's very hard to filter out what's important and what not. So I skipped that.
And so the method that you used, I guess, do most things in your head if you can, and then write if it's necessary. There's also, I think, the typing feature, and somebody told that you can zoom out a bit, and then it's a bit more space to write notes. Is it true?
I actually don't know. I didn't do it, but I tried to draw some derivatives to make it easier to answer the questions. But it's kind of hard to draw with a mouse, like, and have a graph that actually helps you. So it was always easier to just have the graph in your head for some time and say, okay, if it's rising, you know, the derivative is positive, and then answer based on that. So actually, I found out like the less I tried to draw and type the formulas into the notepad, the easier it was to solve the things. Like the quicker I got to solutions. Oh,
nice. So because you like, you know, when you leave yourself no choice but to do it in your head, you do it. You know, you're like,
exactly.
Just do it, like the Nike logo. And can you look down on the keyboard? Like, so people are a bit afraid with the supervision, like
suspicious
for the
eye movements.
It happened once, guys. It happened once. I posted it just so people know, so they don't look like this. But the suspicious eye movements, like, did you look at around like to get a snack or to get a drink or at the keyboard, and was it fine for you?
So I think with looking around, it's not that critical. So you can't get up and leave. So that's actually one tip, because a friend of mine had the problem that he didn't go to the toilet before and he had to pee very badly. So that's I think it's said quite often, but really go to the toilet before the test. It makes your life a lot more comfortable.
Like in the group chat, everybody was joking before the exam, like Matej, Smith.
Luca.
You're gonna put a towel under the chair, just stuff like that. Like I was reading the chat, I was like, oh nice.
So go to the toilet before, and I think looking at the keyboard is not a problem. I also did that, and that's all fine. Like I don't think they try to exclude as many people as possible, but
I think if you get in, they would check you like a bit more further, because if you're 1,000 spot, they don't really care what you did there.
Yeah.
But if you're in the top like 240 places and a bit below, if you're in the waitlist, they will kind of check just in case, you know, like like random screenshots.
But
and stuff.
From my experience, that wasn't too like.
Yeah, it
shouldn't be too yeah, they don't try to exclude people because they looked somewhere else for 2 seconds.
Yeah,
So
yeah. What I'm talking is about like extreme cases, you know, like oh maybe
Yeah.
there's somebody there, like hello. So yeah.
just don't on purpose try to look suspicious, and it should be fine, I think.
And what topic came up the most during the math part?
Hard to remember. What I can remember is I think you posted somewhere like the 5 parts that are the most common in the entrance exam, and that was actually quite true because like 90% of questions or 80% were to those 5 parts. So
I'll put like
most things were
here, what he means.
polynomials, derivatives. That came up like a lot.
Yeah, derivatives. I know derivatives can also just come up randomly like in a question, not even one derivative.
Like every other question was, if that's the graph, what's the derivative? If that's the derivative, what can you say about the graph? And if the polynomial looks like this, what? Yeah, the functions. That was also similar to the Matura, but that came up like every other question.
Yeah, well. And also, but the good thing is in your year they put like a title of the topic at the top of the question, like in bold, and it was like easier to navigate. So you can expect more or less one question per. Okay, one second, this is really.
And get a camera is fucking a bit.
Yeah, it's okay. But I mean, if it falls, it falls. So you can expect like one question per topic. So each topic is important, but some topics, of course, like differentiation, you should really understand because it's going to be useful for not just the differentiation topic, but for other topics as well, indirectly.
Yeah.
And so this you answered because a lot of questions repeat themselves. Yeah, the English part of the exam, the grammar is difficult. You have to prepare for it. And when you were taking the entrance exam, what was like the most difficult thing for you? Content-wise, or structure-wise, or format-wise?
Actually, I think what was that's actually one kind of feature about the exam is most questions are rather easy, but especially in the maths, they had like 2 questions which were like really hard to solve, like almost unsolvable. And also, I talked with the people who got in, and they were like always no idea how to solve them. I also couldn't like it would have been possible if you can really like write down a lot of things and you can like transform formulas, but that wasn't really possible because you can always have to find an easy way to solve something because you can't draw and write, change formulas and everything. So also the tip for it is it's generally a bit the mindset you have to have when doing the test is you do economics, that should be rather easy if you've done the course, and if you know the questions, then you do English and math. And then math, you go through the easy tasks, like through everything you can solve easily. Then you do the things you can solve if you think about them. And there's usually 1 or 2 that are really hard to solve, and just guess there. And if you have time in the end, go back to them, but don't spend much time on them in the beginning. Because I think the first time I finished the exam, like all the easiest things and all the things I could solve easy, like without problems, was I think an hour before I had to hand it in.
Oh, nice.
And then I had to like really time to review the hard questions and everything. And I think it's important to have this attitude of I try to collect points, so I go through the exam and do the easy things, and then I can spend a lot of time in the end on the hard questions. So that's the attitude to do it.
Yeah, that's perfect, because then you're also in a better mood, you know, when you go through the questions. I've solved like a lot and you see the progress, and then for the hard questions, okay, you can find like, because if you start with the hard ones, you're just gonna be frustrated and sad about
exactly,
like,
and
the rest of them.
And if you finish early and you kind of calm, okay, I did everything, I guess those 2 questions or 3 questions that were hard, and I can now spend time on them and try to be right, but basically you know you're fine because you finished already.
And like more or less about the time allocation, because you mentioned the order, like let's say economics, English, math. More or less, if you remember, of course, because it was quite some time ago. How much time should you spend on each part?
So I can remember that my basic structure was like 1/3 each, but I remember that I finished economics and English quite early. Also, what's important, like if you do economics questions, it's important to really understand the logic, why they are right and wrong, because then if you do the exam, you've done all this thinking before already, so in the exam you just know how to think and before logic to solve the questions. So you save yourself a lot of time, especially compared to people who didn't prepare for it at all. So then you're a lot faster on the economics part, and also in the English you can save some time and then like spend a good amount of time on math.
And people are wondering like what are the easiest math topics, but I think it's different for everyone. For some people, functions might be easier than, let's say, elementary algebra. So you should really like look at the topics and like go through them in any way that you're preparing, and then see what's worked for you, because it's gonna be. I think it's individual. I mean, of course, some questions that are super long. Most people won't like them, but yeah, like from your perspective, each topic was like what top 3 or 5 easy topics for you in math?
Easy, yeah. I mean, I kind of like derivatives because it's just like very logically combined, and if you understand the system once of like what does the second derivative, the first derivative look like, what does the graph look like, and that in every ways, it was asked a lot, and if you understand that, you're well set, because also it comes up in so many areas. That's quite important.
Yeah.
And
because
algebra.
Even like in the profit exercise, you can ask what's the maximum profit.
Yeah.
And for the maximum profit, you usually
Yeah.
first derivative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So understanding derivatives is important, and then it's also easier to do everything else.
Yeah. So derivatives, like polynomials, the graphical questions are nice. Takes you less time to solve them.
Yeah. So
and
that's really what to prepare for.
Because like Smith had like a topic list picture, and he like put like 1, 2, 3, 4, like where he would start with. He had like a whole strategy. I was like, damn, we're dedicated to that. So yeah. Any like tips that you wanted to know before taking the entrance exam?
Before taking it?
Yeah, like.
What was kind of surprised to me was that they had grammar questions, because I didn't know that, and they were kind of hard for me. Also, I looked at it afterwards, and I think I would have done better by just guessing them, but that's personal. So, but I think most of the important stuff is all covered. Like, you know, the topics that are important. You know, if you watch this video, you actually have like all the information you need.
You're welcome. And the English part was the grammar questions was very funny, because before there was no grammar questions. Then the year before you there was one, and I was like, people like should chill about it. It shouldn't be too hard. And then you're like it
kind of goes off.
Like, damn, they really decided to. And how long in advance did you? Because I think you mentioned, but how long in advance did you start? Like I think.
Yeah. So, well, as I said, I had like a whole year to study for it. So I kind of used 6 months, but studied for an hour a day and very irregularly. So I can remember that in total it was 60, 80 hours. So.
And however you allocate those hours, up to you.
Yeah, and the medicine students who can do it in 1 week, but they're different. For business students, I'd say 3 weeks, and you're good. It's like different workload.
I think it's like 2-3 months. I think it's like ideal.
Oh yeah. Then you can do it like stress free and just every hour some days. But if you're stressed for time, you can go for the important things in 1 week or 3 weeks to cover everything well. So. If you have less time, you can also do it without problems, but the more time you have, the more comfortable it is.
Yeah. And I think the last content question, strategy for the math part, just you explain it. Go through the easy ones first and the hard ones. And then, this is like a more mental health question, how did you manage to stay calm during the exam? You know, it's because it's like 1 day, 2.5 hours, and then you your academic career is kind of decided in that day.
Yeah.
To keep it.
Well, if you prepare for it, I think you have the great advantage of, if you go through it, you know the questions, like a lot of them are very similar, or actually the same, so you can answer like a lot just based on what you remember from the course, if you did them like somewhat previously. So I was faster on time on economics, on English, so that was quite comforting to know that I'm doing well in time. And also with the attitude of like, in math, just skip the hard question, then there's the feature you can flag a question, and then you have an overview of all the questions and the flag questions. So you just flag the harder ones and skip them, or just guess and skip them. And as I said, I finished the exam like, I don't know, 3/4 an hour early, and then I was like, okay, now I'm gonna go through the hard things. So that was actually, it calmed me down quite much to know, okay, it did everything that's easy, that's important, and guessing is actually like, you get 50% right, so that's not that bad. So if you do all the easy things and you guess the hard things, you actually have done a great job already. And if you then finish early, you can take your time to do the rest. So then it's quite calm to do the exam, I think.
And I think the last question is about the technical difficulties. Let's say if you have a technical difficulty, did you have it, or how you should deal with it based on your theories, comments?
Yeah, I didn't. It's kind of hard to say, because I assume everyone who had technical difficulties didn't get in. So it's kind of a bit of a survivorship bias. But
Darwin said something about that.
Charge your laptop, make sure you get your usual Wi-Fi on, and don't look for a very extended period of time at the wall or something. So, regular things.
Like snacks are fine, bottle of water is fine. Just make sure you don't spill the water on your laptop. And also a tip from me: if you have a second laptop, just in case, you can borrow it from your sibling or from your friends. Just and at this point, why
Yeah,
not?
but yeah,
Why, like 2.5 hours.
you can always prepare. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you make sure that your laptop works the way it usually works, yeah.
And do the mock exams just to test how the platform is and to see like
Mock exam is helpful. Yeah, see everything. It's good.
yeah. So thank you a lot for the interview, and just like as a motivation for other students at the end, how do you find the BBE program?
I think the BBE program is very well organized. Like how the courses fit into each other, and I can also recommend that for the Austrian students that think about WU or BBE, and you might think, okay, you know, it's both economics, not that much different. But I actually think the courses differ quite much in the structure, because in BBE you just notice that a lot more effort is put into the students, like into individual courses and connection of professors and students. So even if you're Austrian and you speak German properly, I would still try to get into BBE and prepare for the exam, because a lot of people have the attitude of, I don't prepare for it, it's not worth the time, and I just see. But I would, because in the end, the time you spend preparing for it, you're gonna have it in the course anyways. So it's just, if you prepare for the entrance exam, you save yourself the time afterwards, like during the studies. So just spend the time preparing for it. I mean,
yeah, good advice.
Basic maths you do need in the course already. So.
Yeah. And I think you're gonna single-handedly raise the number of applicants to BBE this year. Instead of 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. But
makes it also sound better if the application admission rate isn't lower.
Yeah. But well, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Then thank you a lot for your time.
Thank you.
We really appreciate it, and so best of luck to you guys. Prepare now. This video will come out like 1 month before the entrance exam. So now really it's your time to use it wisely and efficiently and prepare to the best of your abilities.
Oh yeah, and guys, one secret tip: if the question comes, the statement, if a company has a profit, it is profitable. It's just wrong. Don't question it. I looked at it. I still want to argue with the people who made these questions, but it's wrong. Okay. See you. Bye.